I'm gonna be very honest with everybody. I really don't like myself as much as I did when I was younger. Because when I was younger, I didn't wear that much makeup. I had beautiful skin. I had really long hair down my back, and it was my own hair. I wasn't into wigs or lace wigs or anything like that. I did occasionally braid my hair. I was into self love, self reflect. I dressed creative, different, and a lot of my artists was Madonna, George Boy. I think I'm saying his name right. I did like Anita Baker. I like Tony Braxton, Isaac Brothers. You know, just different people that I liked. I was very versatile with music. I didn't just like one set of style. And I always just, loved me. Um, I just always was confident. I had the most tiniest waist. I was skinny, really skinny. They used to call me Chicken Wing. My nickname is Wing, Wean, not Wing. But that's how skinny I was. I was going into modeling. I had broad shoulders, and I've always had high cheekbones. And so I was very confident. But as time went, I had a couple of babies. And so after I had my son, who's no longer here, I had, a nice body. I had, my butt was coming out. I had a nice frame, And then over time, I would always do my walking. I would always, try to eat healthy and, or just eat a meal and then just go walking. But as time went, I just started eating a whole lot of fatty foods. I wasn't really doing exercise. And then the weight just started coming, coming, coming. And so, excuse that, you guys. My phone be always on 10. But yeah, so now I really don't have like the confidence or love me without makeup. When I put makeup on, when I do my hair, I think that's for any woman. We just have confidence within ourselves. We dress nice, we look good, we smell good. Just happy in our lives or have careers or, have a good job or have a job. And, we feel like we're, going back into that life of confidence, independence, and we loving, you know, how we are basically getting back on top of things, getting our lives back together. So for me, I'm going back into that, transition of life. I had just got into a mode, especially after my mom passed and, you know, my favorite cousin passed. Everybody was dying back to back to back. And I never really showed emotions, always kept it within myself, you know, compressed it. I cried by myself, but nobody actually saw me go through the emotion. Um, but I went through a brief time in my life that I just was depressed and down and separating myself. I was just distant. I ate a lot. Anything that happened, whether it was a light bill due or, you know, not having a car or, just hard life of not finding a job or then I find a good job and didn't have a way to get there. Didn't have no support, nobody, so it was kind of like hard on me. The very one that supported me was my mom. And when she passed, just everything, like, broken pieces off of myself just kind of like wither away, like part of me went with her. So it's like, trying to get back into shape, trying to eat differently, trying to just get my life back on track, trying to get my life back together, and doing this video was really hard for me to do because, I had to show you guys my whole self of all of me. And I'm going to tell you the truth, I don't like being in a vulnerable state where I'm seeing myself now. It's not like I did when I, was younger than I am now, where I had that tight body and I was wearing like a size 0. And then it took me a long time to get to really a 5 and 6 in clothing. After I had my son, I started picking up weight, but it wasn't a lot of weight, and then eventually, sorry about that. I know you guys probably can hear the little notifications on the phone. So I'm going to get it together. I'm going to get better. I need the equipment. I'm going to have to invest in the equipment and so far. So, I can't even get my words right, but I'm going to have to, I think what it was, my daughter sneezed and it just got me off track. But I'm going to have to get the equipment. I'm going to have to, get these things so I can, be more professional and not have to hold the cell phone all the time. And, sometimes it can be kind of strenuous, but right now this is what I'm working with and I needed to do this. This is something that, is helping me as well, to get back to what I initially wanted to do all along. And that's just to keep walking, keep eating right. Regardless of how I look now, I have to deal with the fact that, okay, I have let myself go at some point. And even though, you're walking and you're trying to eat right, but, sometimes that's not enough. You have to do other stuff to help with the progress. I've always been a walker again. I've always have, wanted to get my life in order and, get in shape and stuff like that. I've always wanted to be conscious of that. That's why I always work jobs that physically require me to lift, bend, because I really wanted to be active, especially when you get older. You want to stay active. I find myself aching a little bit here and there. And, 2 years ago, I wasn't doing that. So, I was able to just lift furniture and move furniture around, move stuff around. Now it's kind of difficult. So, I mean, it's not really that difficult, but, it's difficult because when you take a moment of a break, you know what I mean, and you don't consistently do these things, you find yourself just basically, I'm sorry, y'all, but, my phone is always so active in the day. But like I said, I'm going to get it together. I'm going to block these people. And I'm tired of these advertising calls all during the day. It drives me bananas. But I'm going to get it right. I'm telling you, this is my first one, my first journey with you guys. And I hope that you continue to follow me and support me and just overlook certain things and give me grace. Because this, I'm just starting up again, sharing my vulnerability and myself with you guys without makeup. Now, the next time, it may not be just not makeup, and I'll show you the transformation on how I do it, to put my makeup on, how I've been doing it down through the years. It's just, I wear a little bit more now than I did when I was younger because I had that beautiful skin. My own hair was beautifully long down my back. My mom was a beautician, so you can imagine she, hooked me up every other weekend, especially when it was time to go to church the next day on Sunday. I made sure I was there so my mom could do my hair, honey, because my mom had them growing hands and I didn't want anybody else in my hair but her, so yeah, now, I'm getting back to trying to love me, self-love, self-worth, just looking at all of my, what I think is flaws. And, I'm not going to get no plastic surgery done. I'm not going to do these things that most typical people do. Not that I'm judging. If you want to do it, that's on you. But for me, I like natural. So I'm just going to do what I need to do every day to be consistent, and push myself to the limit of, okay, you got to keep doing this. You got to keep moving. You got to keep being motivated. You got to get up early and do what you need to do. Now I've gotten into shakes and protein shakes, and sometimes I eat this or that, some spinach, some greeneries. I'm not really eating meat, but I do eat plant-based food. So I try to really be conscious about what I put in my body now. But I'm going to eat, I'm going to have my snack. I'm going to have, a sweet something here and there. And, it's all about moderation anyway. And so, yeah, that's what I'm basically trying to do, is to love me again, no matter how much I feel like I have flaws here, left and right. I'm working on my skin, I'm working on my hair. I've gotten my hair long. I know you can't tell. Eventually I will come out and show you my real hair. But for the most part, I'm working on me. And that's all that matters. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't matter how long it takes you to get there. As long as you get there and you make up in your mind that this is something that you're going to do for yourself, so you can get back loving yourself and, being happy and having peace, and all those good things, you know. But again, I do apologize, you guys, if you hear like a little bit of noise and sounds. I am connected to Facebook, so I get a lot of notifications. And my phone is always, on always popping here or there, or, somebody want to call me at random times or message me at the wrong time. Especially if I'm trying to chill, watch a movie or something. I didn't want to call you at the wrong time. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, I just gotten to the point too that I'm just, loving, being by myself, and just trying to find myself, at this point. I know, you probably say, well, you ain't found yourself yet. Well, it depends on your lifestyle, where you've been, and what you've been through. I don't look like what I've been through, and I feel like, I still look good at my age. It's just certain things that I'm not happy with. You may look at me and say, well, girl, ain't nothing really wrong with you. If you want to lose a little bit of this or that, that's be your choice. But I just want to get to a place where I am happy with me. And that's why I want to take you with me, fam, to this journey. I've always been an open book. I've always loved people. I'm outgoing. I've always been a person that done lyrics. I've always recorded. I've always, basically been a creator. I've always just loved life. I've always been energetic. I've always just loved to do these things, that I'm showing you guys. I'm being very vulnerable with you guys, and it really takes someone who really love people. It takes someone who, really want to share. And I'm hoping, that I am going to help somebody who may feel like, they're not pretty, or, some things that they may not like, on themselves, and maybe people have told them this or that. Maybe they just been their own worst enemy. But I think God doesn't make any mistakes. We all are beautifully made. We all are, have our own uniqueness about ourselves, but we do let ourselves go at some point, whatever the curveballs of life bring you. A lot of us do go to food, and a lot of us don't go to food. We go to other things that makes us content, or we feel like, this is going to fill that void. But, I have to learn that nothing can fill a void. You know what I mean? You just really have to find what that is, and try to heal from it. If you want to go talk to a therapist, talk to a therapist. I usually just talk to God, and I talk to those who are willing to listen to me, and I share my deepest moments and hurts and feelings that I have been through. But you have to heal at some point if you want to live. If you want the past to be in the past and just embrace your future, you just have to let go of those things, because it's for you. You have to forgive, you have to heal. It's all these things are for you. It's not for the people that have hurt you in some type of way, or something happened to you tragically or emotionally or physically. It's really about trusting God that He'll bring you out of those things that you struggle with, that that others just don't understand who you are or what you dealt with. And maybe you're not an emotional person, maybe you really don't show those things that you've been dealing with, and you try to just deal with it in the best way that you can, which that's what I do. I try to deal with it. No matter what I went through in life, I brushed it off and still became my own survivor, my own best friend. And through it all, I just started to learn in Jesus, to trust in Jesus. So I don't let things, break me or slow me up. I keep on moving. I keep on being determined. I'm very persistent. And when I want what I want, I go after it. I don't let little things or people or even places, stop me. If I'm not at this point in a great financial situation, but I don't let that disturb my journey or what I'm going through. I just try to do better and think of ways to get my life back on track in the way that is needed to do. And this is my first step, of actually doing that is, losing weight, because I can see that for me, if this is going to make me happy, there are some things that I don't like under my chin, like, my stomach, my legs. I got Astrodome big legs, they still shapely, things are still tight, but, I want them tighter. I want to do things that's going to, improve me at some point, and I know that takes hard work, and I'm willing to do that. I'm willing to go through it, whatever it takes. My motivation is seeing myself smaller in the body weight that I want to be in. I have it in my head of actually, what I'm going to look like. I say those things as if they are already here. I try to really, motivate myself to being very successful in whatever I try to do. I never limit myself on things that, maybe I don't have the degrees for, or, and all of that. I don't say I can't do it, or I won't get that job, or I won't be successful. What's for me is for me, and so I've just learned, and moving forward in my years when I have gotten older, that I just try to stay focused. I don't listen to negativity. I don't be around people who are negative. Excuse me. I don't be around people who are negative. I don't be around energy that is off, or if I feel something, I'm out. I just distance myself, And so I don't be around anybody who I feel is trying to or is doing the same things that I have gotten away from. I don't drink, I don't smoke, I don't do these things. It's a choice. I've done them before. I've drank, I've smoked weed, I did vapors, I partied, I've had a lot of dates. I've had a lot of boyfriends and so forth. I've had a wild life. I was going down, 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 in my life. Things have happened to me physically as well as mentally. I've had those dark moments like everybody else, wanting to commit suicide and things like that. But thank God for God, you know what I mean? Thank God for Jesus, you know what I mean? Because he's the only one that helped me in those dark moments of my life when things had came in my life to try to, kill me or destroy me. And I'm so grateful that God gave me this inner strength to be strong, regardless of what has happened to me, and I could just reflect on just the transition of life that from the moment that I was able to talk till now, even my features are not the same. And, wanting to know who I am, what in heritage am I? I know that, my mom was half Indian, but I also know that she was African. And I took a DNA test. I'm waiting for the result because I have changed my features down through the years. You guys, if y'all check me out on my post, y'all see a bunch of pictures. They all look different. Yes, makeup makes you look even more better for me. It just upgrade what really is there all the time. It's just I don't want to call it a mask, but it just pops you out. I love makeup. I love hair. I love looking feminine and, having mink coats and high heels. And, I don't wear a lot of jewelry, but I do like jewelry. I like to smell good with perfumes and stuff. I'm a lady. You know what I mean? I'm a girly girl. I'm not like a tomboy or anything like that. So I want to know, why I'm attracted to certain things, certain food. Why do I have king features? Why do I have these high cheekbones? My mother was a very beautiful, light-skinned woman. My father was a darker colored man. He had good hair. His mother had a wide nose with king features, and her mother was a lighter complexion person that, she did look like she could have been African. So I want to know, what am I? I know that one of my uncles was 70% of African. My daughter just found out that she is, I think she said 81% or something like that. Or, I think she said 81% African and Portuguese. So she's mixed with those things because of her father side. And I'm waiting on my test results. And that can explain why I like these hairstyles, why I like creative clothes, and I like to look different, and I like colors. Certain colors I like, certain foods I like, certain cultures I like. Like, I'm very drawn to some more cultures than others. You know what I mean? So it will explain a lot of why I look the way I do. And just looking at the pictures, I never ever looked the same. And every picture that I have never looked the same. And when I was real small, I looked different. Everything was small on me. Everything was tiny on me. And then, now everything is still proportion, I believe. But, even in that, I was never conceited or thought I was this or that. I was just very humble person. And I never really thought, at those moments, I knew I was pretty, but I never was like, oh, I'm beautiful, I'm this, I'm that, I'm all this. I never had the arrogance. I've never been that kind of person. I've always been humble. always been sweet, always been kind, always been a giver. I always love all walks of life of people, not just, you know, African Americans, not just whites or Caucasians, but or Asian people or so forth. I just like all people, and I vibe with everybody because I have that type of personality, you know. So that's why I guess I'm an open book and I'm sharing this video with you guys because I am an open book. I am someone that don't hide anything or try to be fake. I believe I'm real, a real person that's going to show you everything about me. Either you like me or you don't, you follow me or you don't, you know, um, but I hope with this experience that I'm doing that I truly can help somebody have the confidence. Maybe you don't have the confidence, Maybe you feel like I do, where you look at yourself in the mirror, you're like, oh, I don't like this, I don't like this, I don't like this about myself, and all I can say about that, again, is to do what you need to do to make yourself feel better, and healthier and happier, if that's what you want to do. We all, again, are beautifully made. Y'all my sisters, y'all my brothers, and I think all of y'all are beautiful and handsome. And so now I'm, as you see, getting back to my face. I don't like the darkness of the little marks and stuff. I have a lot of moles on my face from, inheritage. But I use these, really good soaps that have things in it that can help the skin, and I'm using right now, as you see, this is my, it's a liquid iron that helps me because I have low blood. Always dealt with low blood all down through the years. I've always been a sickly person. And that's another thing. I've never let my condition, as you call a condition, I don't really call it a condition. It's just something that I'm used to. And I found something that has a lot of great stuff in it, like zinc and other things that can really help me. I'm going to get some college. I think I'm saying it right. Because over time you lack that. So I'm going to get stuff and eat stuff with it. That has all of the things that, women needs for their body as they get older. That is like, from Mary. I know a lot of you guys have heard of Mary, and the product is really good. I'm trying to, stick with it so I can see the result. And what I'm doing now is drinking. It's supposed to make your hair grow, and it has some great stuff in it too. It has a great taste. It tastes like caramel, but it's all flavors that she has. And I try to take it, every day, as well as the liquid. I take it every day. And so, yeah, I also eat greens and spinach and things like that. I'm trying to really incorporate in my body because I do have low blood and I go through all kind of different things like, dizziness in the head sometimes, it affects your memory. You can be driving and the car be moving and it's not. Or, you might feel not so good, like it makes you tired. You're tired. But I just always pressed through those things and worked at Amazon or FedEx or, any job that require me to lift heavy things. I just kept moving, kept working, kept doing what I need to do. I never let the fact that I was a sickly person stop me either. Mind over matter. That's what I say. Mind over matter. So I don't let these things bother me. Now I'm doing protein shakes. And now, I have learned a different way. I've always liked cereal, but I always like sweet cereal. So I've just found another way because, the food these days are really not good. It's probably better for us to just grow our own stuff, than to actually eat all this stuff now. But of course, you have to pray over your food. You had to do it before, God to put I'm not gonna say little finger, but he'll put his big, huge finger in it and stir it up for us and make it good. But yeah, I've always loved cereal. And so I made a creative way of actually having cereal. And I love bananas. Love, love, love bananas. My mom loved bananas. And I think I got that love for bananas from my mom. So I just made and created me some cereal, with bananas and shake. And this is like a vanilla shake, which is so good. These shakes are so good. They have protein in it. They have everything that you need for your body in it. And when it's cold, oh my God, it is so delicious. I'm telling you, I would rather just have a shake diet and just drink shakes for a whole month. Like if I was on a like say I got on the island, I was the only one there, and suitcase came out the water and it has shakes in it. I would drink it. That's so good. The shakes are so good. So yeah, I'm on a shake diet. I eat in between that. I'm doing something different. I saw this young lady on YouTube who is showing me, I don't necessarily have to be so disciplined in my eating. I can eat things, still good for you, but you can cheat once in a while. But it's all about like doing your physical, moving. You gotta move. You gotta move your body. That's mandatory for you to do because it will stiffen up. Your bones will start cracking. Your back will be hurting. Your knees will be, not wanting to bend and stuff. And you find yourself like, oh my God, I'm too young for this to be feeling this way. But it will come. It don't matter what age you are. You have to do physical work in your body. You know what I mean? You have to move and groove, so just walking helps me. It makes me lose my stomach, and I'm like, I can't, Vanessa, you can't have no stomach, girlfriend. If I could just move the stomach to the back and have a nice butt, that would be wonderful. But, it doesn't always happen like that unless you get surgery. And that's something that I'm not even considering. If I don't have a dunk dunk that shakes every time I move, oh well. I'm not doing that. Nope, not me. But I'm going to keep doing what is necessary, what must be done for me and my life, and to get this body back on track, honey. I need to do some things to get that look that I'm looking for. But you're going to be right there to go through the journey with me. So please, if you got any comments or whatever, make the comments, really positive and nice. If you're being negative and you want to say mean things, please don't send me a message. Don't even bother to come on because I'm not going to listen to you. Anyway, I'm going to block you in the name of Jesus. But if you got something wonderful, encouraging that you want to say to me, to even help me, to make me feel even better, please leave me a message. Let me know what you think. I really appreciate all of you that do support me. And I really thank you for listening to me. Again, I apologize for all the little noise that you heard. I'm going to get it together. I'm going to get it together. You better believe that. I'm going to get the equipment that I need so I can be more, engaging with you guys. You ain't got to hear all that. But you are going to hear one of my songs that I just created. And I hope you like it. So, bye.
new season. Thank you, Jesus. Yeah, shedding off the old skin, yeah, I'm breaking mold. Walking out the clone body, a new story told.